This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome to our Board of Finance meeting tonight. I wanted to let everyone know watching on TV and for those here in attendance that the first order of business tonight is to do the organization meeting for our Board of Finance. So for those that aren't aware, every 2 years here in North Haven, as part of a municipal election, once the election results are concluded, the first selectman of North Haven has to go around to every board and commission that the town has. So I'm in the process right now of going to every single board and commission meeting throughout the town of North Haven. And there's 3 orders of business that I have to conduct. And those 3 orders of business are by board, by commission, and no different than this evening on this Board of Finance, is to ask for nominations for the chairman of the board or commission, a vice chair, and also a secretary. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is get right into those 3 orders of business before we start this Board of Finance meeting. So I'd like to start by asking for a nomination for the chairperson of our Board of Finance.
I would like to nominate I think Mr. Monaco's done a marginal job up to now, so he should continue.
All right. So we have a nomination.
Got the nomination, I'll second it.
Okay. We have a nomination, we have a second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Monaco?
Congratulations, sir.
Now, our second order of business is to ask for a nomination for a vice chair of our Board of Finance. Is there a nomination?
I nominate Tim Donahue for vice chair.
All right, we have a motion for Mr. Donahue. We have a second. Any other nominations? Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the last order of business, before we get into the actual Board of Finance meeting tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is a nomination for the secretary of this board.
I nominate Michael Halligan,
I second it.
who has also been doing a marginal job. He's been doing it for a long time.
So we have a motion for Mr. Halligan, and we have a second. Is there...
Is there any discussion? Would Alan like to say something about? No. Sorry, it's amongst our board members.
The secretary might need a secretary.
Listen, it's a very high-pressure position, but I've checked with my doctor, and he'll let me continue. Yeah.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Are there any other nominations? Or any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Michael, thank you very much. That concludes, yes.
Well, I wanted to oppose, but I guess I should abstain.
Having
Ladies and
finished,
gentlemen, now we move into our normal Board of Finance meeting. Thank you.
having finished officers for the Board of Finance, that's our December 15th meeting to order. Minutes of regular meeting from November 17th. Everyone's had a chance to look at it. Any questions or comments?
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Ed, the tax collection, could you refresh my memory, please? Are we falling behind? Are we ahead of target? Or are we on schedule? The 57?
I don't, hold
I
on.
mean, compared to other years, I'm just wondering.
You're probably behind because we had,
We're not getting the long sheet anymore, right, with the tax collection from year to year?
Just wondering how we stand.
56.4 last year and
we doing the minutes?
57.5 this year.
Good.
So, slightly, so,
I love you.
Yeah.
it gets better a little bit. Point and a half.
Mike, would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Wait, I actually have
Yeah,
comment
there
to
might
make.
be some discussion on the minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
make a motion first. Or make a second, then we can have discussion.
Motion to, do
Wait, we're,
you normally make the motion? All right.
Well, I made a motion to approve it.
Yeah,
Is there any
Yes.
second? Any discussion?
yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, I
Sorry.
second.
Somebody needs a second before we can discuss.
Need a second, sorry.
So he made the motion and you
No, I
seconded.
made the motion,
You made the
Tim
motion,
seconded.
Tim
And he seconded. Okay, you got that, Ellen? Okay. All right, so I just have a quick correction for the minutes. Mr. Frieda wasn't here last week, so we couldn't discuss this with him, but the statement reads, Ms. Barrett questioned the Board of Education transferring money into the medical self-insurance fund. She thought the $1 million plus was considered surplus and should have gone into the general fund or the BOE capital improvement fund. Mr. Swinkowski advised Ms. Barrett that BOE can legally move or transfer funds to other lines within their budget. And a brief discussion followed. So I'd like to make a motion to amend that because that's really not the gist of what I said. What I was really trying to get at was, in the interest of transparency, that I was questioning the transparency and accuracy of the claim that the BOE concluded the last fiscal year with only $7,000. And in fact, I stated that the true surplus was $1,007,000. And further, that the transfer of $1 million in three portions, $350,000, $350,000, and $300,000, to the three reserve funds was actually done improperly. And I did not disagree with the use of the funds, but rather the process and the accounting that was not consistent with the methodology that was memorialized by this Board of Finance just last year. So.
Is there something wrong in the paragraph that she put in? Is there something from there you're saying that isn't correct? I'm not looking what you want to add. Is there something in that paragraph that you're saying is not correct?
Yes.
As what was said?
Yes.
You didn't say that you considered surplus should go through the general fund?
I said that I question, I disagree with the statement that I question the Board of Ed transferring money into these funds. I didn't question the transfer. What I'm saying is that Ed is claiming that the Board of Ed can just simply move money around, and that wasn't the case. What you first have to do, and we can get into this discussion during the old business, but you first have to declare a surplus, and then after you declare a surplus, then you can decide what to do with that surplus.
No, that's not correct.
Well, then,
Nancy, it's not correct.
Then all of Mr. Swinkowski's end-of-year memoranda are incorrect, because that's exactly what he has said in the past.
For the town, not the Board of Ed.
No. I am saying the Board of Education, in particular, last year, said the Board of Education surplus was $573,668, and as a result of this statute, it was allowed to be carried forward. In addition, $282,875 was transferred to the Board of Education Capital Improvement Fund. So you first declare a surplus, and Mr. Frieda agreed that it was $840,000, combining those two parcels, and then after you declare a surplus, then you transfer it. Not a penny of that $1 million was spent last fiscal year. It was simply moved in the same way that any of us move money from our savings account to our checking account. Until you write that check and it's cashed, that money's not spent. In the same way, this money was not spent by the Board of Education. It was simply moved into three reserve funds. And so that's what I have a problem with. And we can get into more of a discussion about this carryover fund that we all memorialized, but there are several criteria for the movement of money into that carryover fund, which is by definition surplus money.
If you're making a motion to change the minutes, make
Yes.
the motion and we'll vote on it.
Okay, so as I
Any
said,
other
we can get
discussion?
into the details about this during old business, but I made a motion to change the language to the language that I just read, and
Is
I
there a
would,
second to her motion?
Well, I'll second it for the purpose of discussion, but
Well,
to,
she has been discussing it.
well,
But all right, you're second
purpose-
for discussion. Is
yes.
there any further discussion?
Yeah, now, I think to simplify it,
The minutes are not a transcript of word
Right.
for word what happens at a
Nope.
meeting.
but
They're
this
not
isn't even the
intended to
gist.
be.
This isn't even the gist of what I said.
right, I think
it is not.
you're looking to change the intention of what is stated here, so, of what occurred in the previous meeting. So instead of Ms. Barrett questioned the Board of Education's transferring money, could it be changed to Ms. Barrett questioned the process of the Board of Education transferring money? Would that be more accurate? And simplify the objection?
What I was saying was I questioned the transparency and the appropriateness of the transfer process.
So she's made a motion, questioning the transparency.
Transparency
You
and
second it.
appropriateness.
Is there any further
Okay.
discussion?
So you want to add the transparency and appropriateness of the Board of Education transferring money? So you
Right.
want to add those words?
Again, not that I object to the use of that money for
No, we
those
know why.
points.
We just
Right.
want to know what the changes that could be satisfactory in terms of describing what you meant.
The transfer to the 3 reserve funds was done improperly and was inconsistent with the methodology memorialized by this board. That's what I wanted to say.
That's what you wanted to say.
Again, it's not a transcript of what's said, but you're saying that doesn't carry, that statement isn't given the gist of what you were saying?
I
Transferring
certainly
money?
never said that it should have gone to the general fund. We had a discussion about historically surpluses from the Board of Education did go to the general fund. And then there was the creation of the Capital Improvement Fund. And then this board memorialized the carryover fund. So we had a discussion about that history, but I certainly never said that this $1 million should have gone into the general fund.
Okay, so you want to strike that part of the second sentence?
And
Okay.
that there was certainly a $1 million plus surplus.
Right.
That is
She
correct.
thought there was $1 million, the $1 million was considered a surplus, period. Okay, so you want to strike the words on the second sentence after that? Okay, so adding the words transparency and appropriateness, was that?
Transparency and appropriateness
Appropriateness.
that is not consistent with the methodology memorialized by this board just last year.
Again, my position is, it's not a transcript, word for word, as to what was said.
Understood?
So, a motion, there's been
Yeah.
a second, is there any further discussion?
Well, just that we always do try to attempt to have whatever's in the minutes accurately reflect the intentions of what occurred by each member in the previous meeting. So if there was
And I don't
some
think- I don't
some
think
wordage, and it could be amended by anyone, if there was some wordage that you would find acceptable, I do support her desire to accurately
And that-
record what her intention was in this.
And I'm pretty sure no other board member remembers word for word what was said and doesn't know if this is correct or not.
That's actually my comment. I don't object to Nancy not changing the minutes, but truthfully, Nancy, had you asked me a second ago, I would have said, yes, you did talk about moving $1 million in surplus. That's probably just an imperfect memory more than anything. And so I don't object to the change. My problem is sitting here is when we come to vote is, I don't remember word for word what Nancy said last month.
No, in fact, what I said was we should have moved it into the carryover fund, which is what we all agreed to less than a year ago. That's why we created it. No, we created the fund.
That was one time.
No, each and every year, this board should have to vote. That I can read you the statute, but we can get into this in a little bit, but I can
Wait a
read you
minute,
exactly.
let's stay with the
that.
minutes of the
Stick
meeting.
with the minutes of the.
Right, exactly.
So is there
That's in
any
a
oth-
different section of this meeting.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, we don't really have a resolution before we vote on this, right?
No, well, there was a motion, there was a second. There was discussion. We can vote on modifying these minutes or not modifying these minutes. And my position is, I don't know exactly what was said word for word. Maybe in the future going forward, if you see a significant difference, that you let board members in an email or through the chair, that, you know, I take exception to these minutes, this isn't really what's said, and it gives us a chance to review it before we're here. Sitting here right now, I have no idea if that is or is not accurate as to what was said. It sounds like what I remember, but I'm not going to remember word for word what was said.
Right, well, it was actually captured on videotapes.
Yeah, so that gives us a chance to review it if we knew you had an objection to the minutes.
Right,
But we didn't know you had an objection to the minutes. We didn't have a chance to review it.
right.
I don't see how I can honestly vote to modify something if an independent person was here, that was their interpretation of it.
But what were
It
your
wasn't a board
instructions at the
member.
beginning of this discussion? Everyone's had a chance to review the minutes.
Yes.
Are there any objections or any comments that you'd like to make? That's what I
And
did.
And you did.
And I did.
That's fine.
So I followed your directions exactly.
That's fine. And you made a motion, and it was seconded, and we discussed it.
Right.
Is there any further discussion?
I just want to know whether you would be open to tabling approval of these minutes till the next meeting. Is there any openness to that, or would you just like to resolve it this evening?
I guess the only reason to do that would be to have Ellen review the tape, right? And, you know, I assume that would be time consuming.
For minutes that,
Right, I mean,
give me your wording one more time, please.
that's my suggestion.
Ms. Barrett questioned the transparency and accuracy of the process for transferring the $1 million and did not believe that it was consistent with the methodology memorialized by the board just last year.
I can't remember.
I can't say that.
I'm trying to see if I can pull something
I
for
don't
it.
remember that.
I do
You got
remember-
me up until that point, because I don't remember.
Did not believe it was consistent with past practice. Would that be all right?
Well, I mean, what's written here isn't verbatim either, so.
Yeah, so can we cut it off
It's-
there? That's a
So neither
suggestion.
one.
It doesn't, minutes aren't word for word.
No.
Okay, so Ms. Barrett questioned the transparency and accuracy of the process followed to transfer the $1 million.
Process of transferring
There you go.
funds.
Done.
Done.
Done. All in favor of making that modification?
I make,
Aye.
aye.
All opposed?
I'll abstain, I wasn't here. So.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have. to
So
approve
a
the
motion to
minutes.
approve the minutes as amended?
Yes. Second.
Second.
I make
First and
that
second?
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have no old business. New business, expenditures.
Wait, in old business, I
I have
believe,
nothing in old business.
weren't we promised by Mr. Swinkowski last month that we would get an update on the closeout of the last fiscal year?
The fiscal year has not closed out yet. It'll probably be another 30 days.
Isn't the deadline this month?
We're on extension until January 31st.
Ah, okay, well, then that's the update to old business. Thank you.
I will reiterate my request to the last meeting that item of reconciliation of the last fiscal year be in every single agenda until it's resolved.
I second that
That
motion.
we just discussed, even if nothing happened, just put it in there, and then Ed can say there's been no progress.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, actually, I set the agenda. It's not a motionable agenda. Once it does happen, which might be for next month apparently, because we have, the worst case scenario sounds like our extension only goes to the end of January. So if it's not next month, it's in February.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's where we stand.
okay.
Expenditures.
I have can we hop to page 7, please?
It's been,
And I'm looking at the cultural center, and I'd like to know what's going on there. Maybe somebody could enlighten me.
Oh, do you remember the cultural center one?
You done this historical society or the?
Yeah.
Or the, okay.
I mean, whatever you must have done just cost $1,000 more than we budgeted.
Yeah, but we have no idea when something comes up.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up every year.
They had a new sign put in front of the building, and their front door was rotted
Oh, yeah.
and had to be replaced to the building.
Thank you.
So that was a 1440 for this
This
month.
gets back to our phone call today.
Do you remember?
Who knows what's going on?
Following up on Jim's comment, do we remember what the encumbrance was for? Is it maintenance
Yeah.
over there?
Probably the door, the sign.
Right, the door, the price is probably very expensive.
Okay.
So just so you know, because Michael just made a point here. So on an item like that, the way this works is, Ellen in effect is like a facilities manager. They go to her and she will get
Yeah.
something cleared through Ed. So
Yeah.
for $1,000 more, it's not something we trust
Yeah.
her, it needs to be done, she does it, so.
Yeah, right. This is why her semi-retirement should never have been allowed.
It was her idea.
Right.
Anything else on expenditures?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's skip to page 9, please. The canine food and maintenance, my question is, did we have more dogs? Or why are we so far out of the budget here?
We got, we handle dogs.
$500 encumbrance, right?
Right.
So,
We still have an agreement with Hampton that was
Yes.
extended that we've got to take care of. So that's why you'll notice the maintenance and repair line for vehicles, there's some money that goes in that as well.
so the way it works is that we terminated the agreement with Hamden, a mutual termination agreement, let's say last year. We have 14 kennels in the animal shelter, so we went back 7 for us. Hamden came back to us and asked if we would extend it, redo it for a year or so, which we did. So now we have roughly 7 of Hamden's animals there and 7 of ours. So you may see a greater expenditure there, but we're also collecting rent from Hampton. as
But
part
it's
of the-
understandable now, I can appreciate why it's out of whack.
So that's the way that works.
I got one more, let's jump to, hold on. Well, I'm just curious, on page 11,
Transfer station.
yeah, well, no, I'm looking at the consultants. Just how many consultants do we have under Public Works? Just,
That's a good
That's
question.
for the stormwater MS4 work. They
Yeah.
have to do it.
The
It's a
report
big
that has to be
contract.
generated by the
I've got to
town
get
for
a
the
report
state.
done.
We're almost
for the
done.
state.
They pay an outside firm to do the studies.
Stormwater monitoring.
oh, I'm sorry, say that
The
again?
stormwater monitoring has to be done by an outside consultant. That's what that is. That's why the 130 is probably the whole most of the contract.
Okay, thank you.
While we're on that same page, page 11 at the very bottom,
Yeah.
disposal of recycled material, it seemed like we had a pretty rough month of almost $20,000, and it seems like the total budget for the year is 120, so I'm going to deduce that that means about 10,000 per month. So it seemed like it was a double month for some reason. Is there some story behind that? With an encumbrance of another 1,700?
Not necessarily, just probably an increase in maybe in material,
I'm assuming you pay by
and the
weight.
fees probably gone up too.
Okay, I'm assuming you pay by weight.
Okay. And back on page 4, Ed, do you have any idea what might have happened in terms of building maintenance and repair at the library? Seems as though there was a month-to-date expenditure of $8,000 with an encumbrance of another $8,000.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it's a building repair, but I just couldn't tell you exactly which one.
Did we change
They all have,
some cameras over there too? Some security cameras?
yeah, but I don't know if that was in that part, Mike. We're good. It could be.
It's like $17,000, so, okay.
But we constantly get a lot of these repairs at $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah, that just seemed like a pretty
Unfortunately,
pricey one.
because the buildings are old, so we have no choice but to fix them.
Right. And likewise, on page 7, central facilities, maintenance or repairs, town buildings, $9,000 with an encumbrance for $28,000.
Yeah, I think, small amount of it was for the charging station, that was about $1,500. There was piping replacement done over in the annex building, that was $8,000. There's a recurring fee for the energy upgrade to Johnson Controls every month of $6,500, so that's in there every month, because that's our part of the deal. So that's recurring.
Mm-hmm,
So that's the bulk of it that I can recall.
okay.
Anything else on expenditures?
Yeah, page 5, I'm just curious, how is the treasurer finance part-time over? And like, is that gonna
What-
continue? The personnel part-time?
I'm guessing because Ellen retired.
I know, how long you gonna be here?
And they shifted the money.
Treasurer
over.
finance? Yeah, no, treasurer finance. Is that what, just seemed odd. Is that what it
I'm
is?
assuming Ellen moved out of the full-time to part-time, right?
Yes.
So-
And we also have,
So-
there's another part-timer too.
So there's two, so there's no full-time? Or there is?
Sure.
There is.
$500,000.
Yeah, well, that's, well, I'm just asking.
Totally reasonable.
And then back to, was it police? We did vehicle maintenance and repair.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. So is there something that happened to a vehicle? 'Cause-
What page you on?
I'm sorry, 9.
Page 9.
Yeah, it's vehicle maintenance and repair.
Meaning the encumbrance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the encumbrance for?
Have we swapped?
Probably
any-
partial payment, I don't think it's a partial payment on a vehicle, but I'll bet you it's several repairs, because as you see, the line is extremely under budget.
We've had several repairs.
Yeah.
We've had public works trucks being repaired constantly, recycling trucks down. So there's been a lot of repairs on the public works vehicles. Is that what you're talking
No.
about?
No,
No,
we're
it's
talking about
police.
police.
No, there's police.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, police.
Yeah,
There's a
could-
big encumbrance, so I didn't know if something happened to a vehicle, got damaged, or,
Right. Because the negatives is money coming in,
Correct.
right.
but the encumbrance is a
Right.
positive $22,656.
I mean, we can ask the chief, but because it's encumbered like that, it almost makes me think they're refitting out a vehicle. Why would you encumber, you wouldn't really encumber repair, you would have the repair.
Well,
You still
I have
encumber
them encumber everything, just so we never blow the budget.
Scheduled
Until anybody
maintenance.
comes out of PO, you're not gonna get anything through.
Right. And I had a quick question about the fire department, which is on the next page, on page 10. Again, building maintenance and repair, but this is a big one. In the month, I guess, month of November, it was $7,500, but then again, there's an encumbrance of $39,000.
But I thought we discussed this last month.
That
as well.
could
Was
be
it
their
air
cleaning
compressor?
contracts too.
The compressor, we got a new compressor.
It was the generators?
Generators.
At
Three.
3 stations.
But I thought that was done.
We didn't pay for it.
Oh, it may be, the work may be done, but we didn't pay for it, that's still the encumbrance sitting there probably. I don't recall signing off any bills for that. May not be finished.
Okay.
Okay, I just have one question. On legal on page 2, we spent 18 grand year to date on back tax collection. Are we involved in a couple of big lawsuits or big cases where we're trying?
No, the attorney that handles that sends me bills in bunches, so when I get them,
Yeah.
I have Stacy review them and approve them, and then we pay them. But there were several foreclosures that were going on, they
Yeah.
finally got wrapped up.
Thank you.
It's a long process, so he doesn't bill till it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure the legal fees for
Why
the,
was so good?
Excuse me?
Is that why the?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's helping because it's putting in the back tax.
Yeah.
Anything else on expenditures?
Yeah, could you go back to page 9, Ed, and explain to me again, what happened there with the 20,000 encumbrance? I didn't get it all. It was multiple repairs?
this is for police.
Yeah, probably for various vehicles, Jim.
Just-
Everything has to go in, every time he sends that vehicle out or does anything, we have to have a appeal for it.
Okay, thanks.
Sir?
Nothing else on expenditures?
Yeah, one last item here, page 17, the Under insurance employees, the OPEB allocation, the full line item was expended well, it was expensed in the past month. And I thought that was a variable expense that had to do with the factors related to OPEB. I didn't know that was a straight charge or pay-in sum.
We're way below Mike on that.
That's the account that
We
we're-
just put
we just
the
started
number
that
to try
account.
and get it moving up a little bit.
Right. We're putting 200,000 into a fund
It's a
we probably owe
savings
30 million to.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
just money going into the fund. I'm not gonna cut 12 checks. One check and it's over, it's into the fund, that's it.
So it's not on a variable basis.
Right.
Mike,
It's what we
flat.
budgeted, we transferred.
Okay. All right. Okay, I didn't know if we were trying to pay in to the extent that we are
We're way.
liable, where it becomes due, but, or whatever sum in the current year would be necessary to pay in. But, and the answer is yes, and that's the amount we paid. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and then we started at 50,000 in the beginning, and we just,
50,000. We did that because when we were
more bookmarking it.
when we were getting re-rated, the agencies pointed out that when one of the GASB rules had changed, the municipalities had to start booking that. So we put that together, we've added a flat amount, we've increased it, have it in an OPEB trust, so we're covered, at least from that perspective.
Okay. All right.
We are paying our OPEB on a pay-as-you-go basis.
Yes, right.
This
Yeah,
is
it's paid out of
this is against the
operation.
future liability.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then in reality, the goal is, once the pensions, which are in the upper 80s, are fully funded, we can shift more dollars into that liability, because we won't need to put it into pension liability.
We never agreed with this, and I went through this even in my corporations, when the auditors would say you're gonna have to start booking the other post-retirement benefits. And I would always say the same thing. When people retire, we're paying as we go. We have enough cash to pay as we go. And we then experience the same thing in government, not just us, every municipality. You have to book OPEB. The post office went through the same thing, having to book other post-employment benefits, and that created an unbalance in their books. That's the way it is. We have to do it.
Right, because they were told to make up a difference of not doing it for quite a period of time.
So we've always covered it on a pay-as-you-go basis,
Yeah,
but now we have to book it as a future liability.
yeah,
So it's set up with a separate fund like the pension trust
Right.
funds.
yes,
So this would be another trust fund.
okay.
And we invest it and we grow it.
Thank you for clarifying how we decide to pay this line item. Thank you.
Revenue? And special funds?
Wait, no, I just wanted to comment that we received our educational grant, the ECS, that came in this last month. So that's great news, $965,000. And apparently it was a big month for collecting taxes at $450,000. I had a quick question about $9,600 in the sale of town property. That seemed to be a bit of an aberration for 1 month. Was there something that we should know about?
Probably illegal, right? Was it
Yeah,
a police car or something?
something like that.
Yeah, there was a vehicle, I believe, in there. We got a couple of pending property sales too. Salat Street on an economic development project and 777 Mount Carmel. But that has not been transacted yet.
Right.
So I think it was a vehicle.
A vehicle, okay.
Is that FEMA on page 1? That's from the storm, am I right or wrong on that?
Correct.
Okay.
But it's gonna come in pieces, a lot of pieces.
Special funds?
I have a quick question for Ed. What happened to the paramedic billing?
Well, paramedic billing I took off because I don't see what purpose it serves anymore. I'm putting down the revenue and monthly revenue, year-to-date revenue, and the total expense for the fire chief, when in reality, 100% of that expense doesn't go against that revenue. I mean, that's only part of it. He does so many other things that putting that whole package of expenses in there isn't a fair comparison.
So,
And all those numbers are also, the revenue and expense are in the reports.
so the expense for that paramedic billing is exclusively the salary of the deputy chief?
And all benefits, and
Oh, and benefits too?
everything, yeah.
Okay.
Complete, yeah.
So I
That
believe,
really wasn't a fair portrayal of it.
well, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, because I wasn't actually at this meeting, but I think the reason that it was originally included in the special funds accounting was that the chief had assured the Board of Selectmen that if he was allowed to hire a deputy chief, that that individual's salary would be more than covered by any paramedic billing. In fact, I believe that he said it would bring in $300,000 to $400,000 each year.
Right.
And so I think that's why it was included there. And I think that it's still important for us to be able to see what kind of money it is bringing into the town, even if some of the money associated with actually transporting patients down to the hospital is now taken care of by Nelson because they have the,
Right, but that money is also, it's right on the revenue report, if you want just the revenue.
so
It's on page 2.
was this a request by the fire chief to remove this?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't have to give money.
I'm just asking, because it just seems strange that this suddenly disappeared.
Well, I was going through things, trying to organize things as much as I can.
Okay,
So he's still showing the revenue on the paramedic services. It's in the revenue report.
Mm-hmm.
What he's trying to explain is that it wasn't a fair comparison. As time has gone on, it's not an equal offset.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the deputy chief is doing much more than just that. In the beginning, although it may have been portrayed that it was going to be a total offset, the man has so much other value that it's not a total offset.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not disguising the fact that the revenue is not being reported. It's in the revenue report. And as you can see it there, the budget, and you see probably about 46,000 in collections right now, or 36,000.
and the expense associated with that
Well, the
is,
expense is already in the budget because of the deputy chief is already in the budget, the fire department.
and that's under personnel, cost of
Right.
personnel plus, so it's kind of fragmented because obviously the cost of his benefits would
Right.
not be under that.
So the cost is in the fire department budget, the revenue is being reported separately in terms of what's being generated.
Board of Ed.
Okay.
I think you did a good job summarizing a lot of the line items in his memo.
Yes. Just to provide a little bit of context for the second page, at Chairman Monaco's recommendation, I did actually attend the last Board of Education meeting, and I was able to hear from Howard Wardlaw that they're able to provide free lunches to students as a result of the federal money that we're getting. And I believe that he did a calculation in which it costs the town about $2 per person to provide a lunch, but the federal government is actually providing us with about $5 per student. So we make a little bit of an increment on that, and they were able to utilize that differential in order to purchase this van for Chartwell's that's listed on the second page. So that's sort of the backdrop to this. And also that they were able to not only acknowledge, but also deposit the $290,000 from the ESSER funds that basically reimburses their capital improvement fund for the alarm system, so.
Anything else on Board of Ed?
And also, I was able to ask Howard very specifically the question that I had about closing out last year, and he acknowledged in no uncertain terms that they did in fact end the last fiscal year with $1 million surplus, and that the transfer to the 3 reserve funds was exactly that. It was a transfer. None of that money was spent during the last fiscal year.
Anything else on Board of Ed? Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented, or the reports as presented?
Make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Appoint one member to Open Space Advisory Committee. I nominate Jim Leonis, who has served in that position several years back, and I think they want you back.
I accept.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Any further nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Our next item is a resolution for a recycle truck. Mr. Frieda, would you like to update the board a little bit, or let me read the resolution first. Resolved that the Board of Finance recommends that the Town of North Haven appropriate $174,600 excuse me, for the purchase of a recycling vehicle from Sanitation Equipment Company, Inc. Said funds be drawn from the contingency line in the fiscal year 21-22 approved budget and subject to approval of such appropriations by the town meeting.
So just to, I think you probably know this. If you don't, I'll just summarize it. That we've had a real issue with Public Works in terms of delays on sanitation, and in some cases recycling. Because these trucks go down, and instead of having, as an example, sanitation picked up, let's say by 7:30 in the morning, because of the delays and because of a truck not being on the road, it may not get picked up until 10:30 or 11 o'clock, maybe sometimes noontime. So Mike Matura, our Director of Streets and Roads, just said to us, this truck is unrepairable. And so we decided to do this resolution and take this out of the contingency fund, not the fund balance. And there's reasons for that. There's the last rating agency call. We're very fortunate we've been AAA rated again, ladies and gentlemen, but I heard loud and clear, and Ed did, that we've got to get this fund balance up, and having withdrawals from the fund balance is the antithesis of what rating agencies like to see. So Ed and I decided to bring this forward through the contingency. The contingency line is $300,000 in this budget, so this still leaves us a little bit more. Many years we haven't spent the $300,000, but this resolution is designed to be passed by the Board of Finance, and this will go to a town meeting, have the public vote on buying this truck out of the contingency fund. That's what this is about.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Second.
Wait.
Well, no, I made the resolution, so I made it, you seconded it.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Just to discuss. I certainly like the idea of this being approved by at least some board or legislative body, it's an additional capital purchase. But is this out of necessity in terms of how this is being the procedure here? Because if this comes out of contingency itself is totally undefined. That can go for any atypical emergency type unanticipated purpose that may come up. That's the whole idea of contingencies. But if this came out of the unappropriated fund balance, that would be additional spending in addition to what the town approved.
Yes.
For the fiscal year. And since this is not enlarging that sum of total aggregate expenses, I just wanted to know whether this town meeting is essential for this type of allocation.
I'll cut right to the chase for you. The town meeting that would do this would be when we reconcile at the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
It's not needed, there's no town meeting next week, next month for this.
It's going to be reconciliated. That's the
It's
town meeting.
reconciled at the,
Oh, okay. So now there won't be a special town meeting?
no.
Oh,
It's going to
Not that I
be
understood
part
at all.
of the end of the year, because it's an over $20,000 movement of funds.
So it'll be,
It'll be
Change in
done,
line items.
done at the end of the year.
So, okay, well, that to me makes sense, because that's town oversight, and yet I almost thought it was overkill to have a town meeting for this purchase, if it's already within.
Yes, we do not have
If it's
to.
not going to expand the overall spending of the town
Right.
in the current fiscal year. Because when we got a rescue truck, that was taken out of fund balance.
That's right.
And that's why there had to be.
Requires a town meeting.
That's right. So there will be a town meeting on this, but it'll be in September to reconcile the overage,
Okay.
so.
When will the truck be on the road? That's the
Well-
question that needs to be answered, because, like
I would
Mike said,
imagine
the
within
trash
two-
pickup is very late.
With less than a month, because I think they've got their eye on one, but we're still gonna have to bid and see what happens. So, probably 3 weeks.
We can't go under state contract?
I
Is
don't
there,
know if they have any on it that he wants for money. But he checks that all, he checks.
Yeah, he's constantly on the state
Okay.
website.
So this doesn't represent a current crisis.
Well,
It is, yeah.
yeah, it is, actually.
So if it is a current crisis, then why are we waiting until September? That's, I guess,
No,
the
no, no.
question.
No, what I'm saying, Nancy, is that in September, it'll get reconciled at the September town meeting, showing an over $20,000 expenditure on that line item.
Oh, so it's not asking for the town
Right.
meeting permission
No.
We don't
to
need permission.
utilize the
That's
contingency
right.
funds?
No, this board, this resolution would solve that, and we would be able to get that. But I want to be clear, it's going to be a town meeting in September to adjudicate the issue. Residents still have to vote on that, even though, because it's going to be an over, it's like, you think about our town meetings in September, the over $20,000 expenditures, right? So this will be on that as an over.
But the adjudication is really just to
Yeah.
bless the movement of dollars.
That's
It's
right.
not gonna be blessing the purchase of. the
Exactly.
Right, that's what I was saying, there's two different, the September
different-
meeting is simply approving transfers.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Whereas we are trying to approve the actual purchase.
That's right.
Yes.
And the use of taxpayers' money, even if it happens to be in the contingency fund.
That's right. Yes.
So this vote this evening will enable Mr. Swinkowski to then allow the Public Works Department to make this purchase as soon as possible,
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Out of contingency, yep.
Out of contingency.
out of contingency, and you think that this problem would be resolved by,
They'll get a truck in a couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
there'll be a
Couple
truck.
weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we can't
That's what I'm
pinpoint
trying to
what's going to be here next week or two.
yeah,
We
I
think
don't
within
need, I don't
30
need
days.
a day, I'm just trying to understand, is it in a week, is it in a month, is it in 3 months?
We hope it's within a month, I
I
guess.
hope
month.
it's as soon as possible.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm trying to gauge, is how much of a problem is this?
No,
And
tomorrow
how
morning we'll be working on
quickly
it.
will it be resolved? Thank
I
you,
can tell you what I've noticed, my trash been picked up lately,
Yeah.
for sure weeks.
for sure.
Yeah.
They actually converted some of the recycle trucks to picking up trash because they were having problems, can't get parts to fix trucks.
That's the other problem,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't get parts to fix anything.
Right, and is this something that you've attempted to purchase with a MRSA waiver?
Well, we were denied the last two.
No, we're delayed the last time, right.
But for this particular
This year, I
item?
cannot apply for anything until June 30th, they told me.
So,
For
yeah,
the
let me,
new- the new
Okay.
tranche of money that comes out,
But this particular item was in the 5-year capital improvement plan? Or not?
probably, yeah.
No, I think it was, because that's in the minutes, right?
That was in the minutes.
5-year capital plan.
Yeah.
Right. It was discussed last month, it was in the minutes.
Yeah, so this is being treated the same way as if a boiler went down in a building,
Ah, yes.
where it's
Correct.
a requirement to maintain this service, and the only way to do so is to make this purchase. So I have no objection at all.
Any other discussion? There was a resolution, there was a second to the resolution, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on our agenda, public comment. Mr. Fleming?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Sally Buemi, 5 Blossom Drive. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, sir. First, I just wanted to address something in the expenditure, a question about the expenditure report in the fire department, the $39,000 that was an encumbrance. I think Ed said that was for a generator, right?
They had bought a couple of generators. I'm figuring that's what they are, because that's a big chunk of money to be
Right.
encumbered.
The current budget, our current 21-22 budget in the capital budget has $69,900 for a fire station generator. So if
Nope, I stand corrected, you're right. You're right, that goes there.
So I was gonna say, so
So
if
it's
it's,
just other repairs, and I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what they are, but I could
Okay,
send
but I think-
everybody a printout.
because I think I can't remember which board member brought it to everyone's attention, it's a large monthly, it's a large encumbrance, and to hear generator, you might all think, okay, it's the generator, but when I saw that it's in the capital, then I knew it wasn't the generator, so the board should be aware that it's not that. And
Right.
So there's other issues, I guess, with some of those buildings. Right, because if it's in Public Works, it would be from that line. It wouldn't be from the fire department line. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. And the only other thing I wanted to comment about was, this resolution for the recycling truck, which I fully support. It certainly sounds like it's necessary. But I misinterpreted I thought that we were gonna have a special town meeting soon to approve it, and because we did this in 2014, we used the contingency fund to purchase a
Payloader.
rescue vehicle for the fire department from the contingency fund. It didn't come from the general fund. And I looked at the minutes from March 6, 2014, and that's when Chairman Nuzzolillo came before us. Tim was on the Board of Selectmen at the time, and we just agreed, we didn't even vote or anything, that we would use $160,000 from the contingency fund. And I looked at the minutes from the Board of Finance meetings for the two months prior to that meeting, and I didn't see any resolution. So did we do it wrong that time, and the Board of Finance didn't pass a resolution to appropriate?
I think we took it one step further than we needed to last time. Because if it came out of the fund balance, that would require a town meeting.
It didn't come out of the fund
I
balance.
know, but I think we erred on the side of caution the last time.
Last time we didn't do anything, we just
You're talking
talked about
You're
it.
talking about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago?
No, 2014.
All right, okay.
We purchased a rescue vehicle because you might recall the rescue vehicle broke down on the way to an accident on the Wilbur Cross. And so we all agreed, meaning myself, Mr. Donahue, and you, to replace it, and that was it. And I mean, I have your quote here. This is a quote. Mr. Frieda explained there's emergency one vehicle. There's $300,000 in the contingency fund. This will not cause an over expenditure. It will come from the contingency balance. So there was no vote, no nothing, nothing from the Board of Finance.
Sally, can we stay on this year and not 2014?
No, I was just wondering if.
No idea what was done at the time. I don't remember.
I'm telling you what was done at the time. We spent $160,000 on an emergency purchase, just like we are now. And it didn't have a Board of Finance resolution.
Maybe it wasn't a resolution, maybe it was just a vote.
No, there was nothing in the minutes. I looked at the minutes.
Minutes are not an exact transcript, but
But
it should have
any
reported a
vote is
vote. Should have
definitely-
reported a vote.
And votes are always
Yeah,
in
votes, I
minutes.
said it should have reported a vote.
Yeah, there was no Board of Finance vote then. So I was just wondering, I have no problem with the purchase. I support the purchase. It just reminded me of the contingency purchase that we did 6 years ago. I found it March of 2014, and we didn't have a Board of Finance resolution. I think we should, and I'm glad that we are.
Maybe we don't have to.
We didn't in 2014, that's my point.
You know what, thinking about it, we probably don't have to.
Well,
As part of the budget, you control contingency, you can do it
Yeah.
unilaterally.
So I think we're erring on the side of caution this year. So that's a good thing. Because these 6 Board of Finance members are the town's elected gatekeepers of the checkbook. So I think it's great that you guys are being informed about it and are agreeing to the purchase. So I think, if anything, we're doing more than necessary this time, and that's a good thing.
Possibly.
I think it increases transparency. That's the only point I wanted to make. But it made me think about the MRSA purchases, because as you know, Mr. Chairman, I've challenged the MRSA purchases because I think they should have the same Board of Finance approval as well. And you and I have debated that over the years pursuant to 7-348 of the Connecticut General Statutes, which is the 20,000 requirement statute. So that reminded me that, Mr. Frieda, you promised me in May of 2020 a special meeting with the town attorney. You know I have several issues. I've been waiting a year and a half now, so this issue reminded me of some other issues.
Is that the fire department issue?
The fire department issue, the MRSA issue, and a couple of others that we had to put on hold. We had a special Board of Selectmen meeting in May of 2020. So this whole thing just put that back on the front burner for me, and I just wanted to remind you of your word to keep that, and because I have several issues. You know what I'm talking about. The town attorney had to leave early, remember? Yeah, so I just wanted to remind you of that.
Okay.
I haven't bugged you about it in about 6 months, so I've been patient.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, I understand.
Okay, I just want to remind you, the whole thing with this resolution reminded me of other issues that reminded me of that. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Good
Happy
holidays,
holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Reminder to board members, some particularly,
6:35.
6:30
6 o'clock.
in January,
Yeah.
6:15 for you.
Yeah.
If there's no other public comment,
Boy,
I'll
I
make a
just wanted to
motion.
know whether Mr. Frieda is going to request an increase in the shaving expense for the first selectman's office.
Motion to adjourn.
Is that- no?
Second.
Good
All in
to see you
favor?
again. Good to see you. You look good. Very nice. Amen.
8 o'clock.
We're adjourned.
All right.
Oh, my God.
Gotta tell Ellen.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.